A natural way to stay ready, baby. 'Cause I'm ready for you, Mr. C.
The ultimate male supplement, men's total wellness formula, packed with essential nutrients for men's health.
She'll call you Mr. C.
One love, Delta 9 travelers. One love. Welcome on to the live. Welcome on to this live pre-recorded presentation. Listen, we got so many headlines that we got to catch up one another with. What's going on your side of the globe? It's a bleaky kind of day. You know, we heading into the summertime, but we still got a little bit of that winter left over here in the beautiful Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. It's a Wisdom Wednesdays right here on Delta 9 Media. Big up to all the travelers that are going to catch this one early off and those that are going to catch it in the rewind in the future. Thanks for tuning in and being a part of the live. Thanks for making sure that you are subscribed to Delta 9 Media. It's Wisdom Wednesdays, and we're going to start off with some wisdom coming in from who? One of my favorite actors, Mr. Murphy.
75 years. That's how much time you get if you're lucky. 75 years. 75 winters, 75 springtimes, 75 summers, and 75 autumns. When you look at it like that, it's not a lot of time, is it? Don't waste them. Get your head out of the rat race and forget about the superficial things that preoccupy your existence and get back to what's important now. Right now, this very second. And I'm not saying drop everything and let the world come to a grinding halt. I'm saying that you can become a seeker. You can be loving more. You can be taking some chances. You can be living more. You can be spending more time with your family. You can be getting in touch with the part of you that lives instead of fears, the part of you that loves instead of hates.
Telling you Wisdom Wednesdays. Wisdom coming in from one of the greatest actors, one of the greatest creative minds of our time, Mr. Eddie Murphy.
75 years. That's how much time you get if you're lucky. 75 years. 75 winters, 75 springtimes, 75 summers, and 75 autumns. When you look at it like that, it's not a lot of time, is it? Don't waste them. Get your head out of the rat race and forget about the superficial things that preoccupy your existence and get back to what's important now. Right now, this very second. And I'm not saying drop everything and let the world come to a grinding halt. I'm saying that you can become a seeker. You can be loving more. You can be taking some chances. You can be living more. You can be spending more time with your family. You can be getting in touch with the part of you that lives instead of fears, the part of you that loves instead of hates.
Wisdom Wednesdays, right here on Delta 9 Media. So we can start off at that altitude right there, getting into some wisdom so we could get into more headlines, connecting headlines, things that definitely are trending and very important that we pay attention to. We're going to start off with another teacher, right? Another person who is very impactful in their presentation and has shared a lot over the many years that they would have been teaching. We're going to get some insights coming in from none other than the professor himself, Mr. Phil Valentine. And if you don't know who Phil Valentine is, research it, pull it up online, and get some more wisdom coming in from the great teacher if you don't know his work or you're not familiar with his work already. All right, let's hear some insights about what's going on with the aisle and a lot of different proceedings. You know, it's very important to us anytime you hear the conversation about global politics and anything related to the pumping and certain pipelines and the price of oil and all of these things that are definitely going to affect what's going on the ground in Guyana. So let's get some of these details coming in from Mr. Phil Valentine.
Actually, Wall Street and all the rest of the Khazarian mob consolidating the oil, especially from Venezuela and all parts west. Mm-hmm. There's also a huge cache of oil and minerals that run the new computer, the new AI. There's no more artificial intelligence. The government gives us artificial intelligence to play with. Yep. But the newest technology is synthetic intelligence. Mm-hmm. And synthetic intelligence is...
So it's not just the conversation about what's advancing as it relates to the development of one of our most financially lucrative resources. what we also got to contemplate was advancing beyond AI. You see what I was saying? And when I be highlighting the fact that they be holding back and stymieing the development of what's going on in Guyana. Imagine we're just now really getting into what most countries would have get into years and years ago with the digital age. Now you gotta jump straight to AI. And then you hear the Professor Phil Valentine highlighting the fact that listen, this thing has gone beyond AI. It is going even to synthetic technology now, technology that is going to be connecting directly to the mainframe. Who's the mainframe? You're the mainframe. It's Wisdom Wednesdays, and we're taking the flight at a whole different altitude. Big up to all the frequent travelers, all the new travelers. Are you subscribed to Delta 9 Media? It don't cost you nothing, and that's the free way for you support independent media that present at this caliber, bringing certain very important and very trending headlines straight to you on an international digital connection. And we cruise in right here on a Wisdom Wednesdays. I'm telling you, we're in this conversation about Venezuela becoming the 51st state. And there's a lot of various views, a lot of different perspectives that persons are giving on these things. Now, there's one way to look at it, and then there's a different way to look at it. The way how I'm looking at it is if persons are saying, all right, this is a part of the US right now, then what does that mean about Essequibo? What does that mean for the rest of Guyana? There's a whole lot of implications. Drop it into the comment section. Let's have some meaningful conversation about these details as we jump into some of the headlines coming in from the international news syndicate.
The other news that we are following here at this hour, and this is an interesting one coming in. This is from our buddy Bill Malugin over at Fox News. He says new. President Trump tells Fox News colleague John Roberts in a phone call just now that he is, quote, seriously considering making Venezuela the 51st U.S. state, adding that there is a $40 trillion in oil there and, quote, Venezuela loves Trump. Now, this post here coming just months after Venezuela's alleged leader, Nicolas Maduro, was captured by the U.S. He is now here in the U.S. where he faces charges. President Trump and his administration have been very involved with the Venezuelan leadership ever since. There's been a lot of back and forth, but now this statement coming in from Bill Malugin over at Fox News saying President Trump told his colleague John Roberts at Fox News in a phone call just now that he is, quote, seriously considering making Venezuela the 51st U.S. state, adding there is $40 trillion in oil there and, quote, Venezuela loves Trump. Okay.
So is that strengthening Guyana's defense by having the US as a closer ally? Or is that weakening the defense that Guyana would get from the US because of now Venezuela becoming a part of the US? Right? A 54th state, if you even want to push it that far. No, that would be great advancement for all persons in the US because let's think about it. You have the manufacturing capabilities. Now you have the largest reserve, and then the US has a large reserve as well. So that would be a great asset if you're thinking from the perspective of an American. The average American is going to say, listen, that would be a great situation if we analyze what's going on right now in the Strait of Hormuz and a number of other implications. What are your views, Delta 9 travelers? We all think about this development. Listen, there's a lot going on and a lot of things that we got to update one another with. Who? What? The 54th state? But what is the president saying right now? Because, you know, she's been very vocal recently and she's had a lot of presentation, the brooch with the approach, showcasing that they're ready to encroach on we and take over more than, listen, so much of Guyana that Guyana wouldn't be Guyana the way we know it no more, you understand? Let me hear some of what the president of Venezuela is definitely highlighting, even as they got the case going on right now. Let's hear some of these developing headlines.
It falls to me to travel in the coming hours to defend our homeland. And whenever I have had to do so, you cannot imagine the pride it gives me. The deep pride of defending Venezuela's inalienable rights, defending them tirelessly, because it is a way of honoring our history.
It will be Rodriguez's first major international trip since taking over as acting president, following the abduction of Nicolas Maduro by the U.S. forces earlier this year. Rodriguez's visit comes amid a delicate reset in U.S.-Venezuela relations. Sanctions against her were recently lifted, reportedly as part of a broader oil agreement allowing greater foreign access to Venezuela's energy sector. The Essequibo region is a resource-rich territory currently administered by Guyana. The region makes up nearly two-thirds of Guyana's land area and has become strategically crucial after major offshore oil discoveries by U.S. energy giant ExxonMobil. Those discoveries gave Guyana one of the world's largest per capita oil reserves. Venezuela and Guyana's dispute over Essequibo dates back to the 1800s. In 1899, an international arbitration panel awarded the territory to British Guyana, which is modern-day Guyana.
All right, this is just some of the history, and we got to make sure, and I can make sure that as many opportunities as I get, and Wisdom Wednesdays is one of them opportunity, and don't ever think that we get no bipartisan perspective when it comes down to what's going on with this, We are 100% on the side of Guyana. We ain't got no other perspective with this. So don't ever get it twisted. We're saying, listen, Guyana is the way that it is depicted on the map, and it's been depicted the way on the map ever since independence, and that is the way that it should remain. That's the way that right-thinking people are analyzing this whole situation, and they definitely are looking at it in a perspective that we got to make sure that we refresh ourselves with, because it's coming straight from the courtroom. Let me get some of these insights, I'm going to make sure that I bring these information and refresh our minds with it as we hold this unified front, because we can't be divided on this, So we got to make sure we understand the details. The details is the key. We got to make sure that we staying up to date with these details. And I can make sure I bring it piece by piece, video by video, whole year. Every time I come live, I can make sure I refresh myself with a piece, because you can't slip, not an inch, because as you get them an inch, you're ready for tech half your country. I'm telling you, we go into some of these details directly from the courtroom in the ICJ, or the CCJ, stand corrected.
The president announced that Venezuela would hold elections in Guyana Essequiba, in which, quote, the people of Guyana Essequiba would elect a governor of Guyana Essequiba state. To be clear, Venezuela was planning to hold elections in Guyana's territory, elections in which Guyanese citizens would be called upon to elect a Venezuelan governor to rule over them. Venezuela's announcements and its declarations of intent were yet further violations of the court's first provisional measures order. In the face of Venezuela's defiance of that order and its escalating threats to Guyana's sovereignty and territorial integrity, Guyana made a second request for provisional measures in March 2025. On the 1st of May 2025, the court granted that request and made a second provisional measures order. The court explained, as you see on the screen, that by adopting legislative measures and decrees concerning the territory in dispute, and by announcing the holding of elections therein, the respondent has confirmed its intention of acquiring and exercising control and administration over the territory in dispute. The acts taken by Venezuela since 1 December 2023 further confirmed that the respondent intends to incorporate the territory in dispute into its own territory. The court described Venezuela's actions as grave developments. Accordingly, the court unanimously reaffirmed the provisional measures indicated in its order of 1 December 2023, which should be immediately and effectively implemented. The court also went on to indicate a further specific provisional measure, namely that pending a final decision in the case, Venezuela shall refrain from conducting elections or preparing to conduct elections in the territory in dispute, which Guyana currently administers and over which it exercises control. Venezuela, once again, flagrantly defied the court's order. The day after that order was issued, Venezuela put out a communique which categorically rejected the order. Venezuela pronounced that, quote, true to its historical position, it does not and will never recognize the jurisdiction of the International Court of Justice or abide by any decision emanating from it to settle the territorial dispute around Guyana Essequiba in a process that has been rigged from the beginning.
So you hear the details coming in from the ICJ, right? These are the details that we got to pay attention to. We can't play around with this. We can't act like this is a situation that is just here for now and in a while it will take care of itself, because you hear persons are saying, listen, we can bring y'all in as a fifth or fourth state. What does that mean? What does that mean? Does Essequibo then now become a debate between the US and Guyana? Because we all know how that's going to end, right? Because if the person that you was depending on for back you is now saying, listen, I'm in front on this situation. I'm coming from another perspective on this situation. It could have a whole lot of implications, right? And these are the things that we got to analyze if you're thinking of it from a right thinking perspective, if you're thinking of it from an open-minded perspective, what is really taking place in front of our faces. Remember, just today, the president went over to meet in China with the leaders over there as well. So those are other implications that we got to think about. Those are other things that we got to analyze as well. Right here on Delta 9 Media, we're going to make sure that we update you with those headlines and other headlines coming in on this very, very important and very trending situation, as we get some of these insights as well coming from who? The leader of the APNU, Honorable Mr. Norton, was highlighting these details about everything connected to Venezuela and the back and forth that they have with us over and over again. We gotta make sure that we get all the aspects coming in. Remember, over here on Delta 9 Media, we are on the side of who? Can't ask no question. You're seeing the flag. It's right there and you're hearing the accent. We ain't playing around with it, and we ain't definitely taking no particular political party side on this or not at all. We're about what? 100% the progress of Guyana.
I want to caution that if one follows the history of Venezuela, that is not likely possible. In fact, if one looks at what is happening, one sees that Venezuela is preparing the pitch to say we ain't accepting it. We now have to look at options. We have to be careful not to create the false mood that once the ruling comes, Venezuela aggression will end. I just think it will take different forms. We cannot concede an inch to Venezuela. I can repeat that we must see Venezuela as an adversary that wants our territory. We must remember that Venezuela always comes up with some scheme, unquote. Now that Venezuela has said it will not accept the outcome,
It is unfortunate that the government did not heed the warning and prepare for this eventuality. The reality is that economic diplomacy has been the critical tool available to us to stymie Venezuelan efforts. Again, in our last statement, we said, and I quote, we use our vast resources. Canada came to invest, China came to invest, Russia came to invest. These countries were given opportunities to participate in Guyana's growing economy. So why has the PPP not deliberately created similar opportunities for CARICOM states to build deeper economic partnership and regional loyalty? Why can we not provide incentives to CARICOM states, create a structured regional investment cooperation platform, create a visible regional food security program, identify agricultural lands in Guyana, and invite CARICOM governments into joint food production arrangement with guaranteed food security for their populations, provide concessionary energy undertakings, and provide incentives for CARICOM investment in Guyana. We are reminded why the letter is a sign that the PPP is visionless, incompetent, and a national security risk. It is critical that we respond to Venezuela's claim that under the PNC administration, there was consideration of a concession. This is untrue. When Venezuela made the proposal, it was rejected out of hand by the then PNC government.
Vice President Barrett Jagdeo's recent comments on rising food prices and the cost of living
Those are some of the insights coming in from the leader of the APNU as it relates to the back and forth with Venezuela. One of the very important and trending headlines that we got to pay attention to. Venezuela soon to become the 51st state. The 51st state of the United States of America. That's what President Trump is saying. Listen, we're making so much money together, I might as well make you all a part of the US. What are the implications that might have for Guyana Delta 9 travelers? I'm telling you, drop it into the comment section. Let's have some very meaningful conversation about this.
The capture of Nicolas Maduro by the United States altered in a matter of weeks what seemed to be a sealed fate. The new understanding between Caracas and Washington, based of course on the oil business, has reconfigured the chessboard. Venezuela has gone from an undesirable actor to a functional partner without too many intermediate explanations. A transition that is not ideological or moral, but strictly pragmatic. In international politics, as Kissinger taught with his usual cynicism, there are no permanent allies, only persistent interests. In this scenario, the question ceases to be legal and inevitably becomes political. Is it still convenient for the centers of power to make a decision that dispossesses Venezuela of a substantial portion of its territory with high energy potential?
That's the question. That's the same question I asking. That's the way I understand, this thing could go a whole lot. Here I telling you, a whole lot of implications, a whole lot of implications. Let's hear some more.
The International Court of Justice, of course, does not admit such considerations in its rulings. Their language is different, technical, historical, apparently aseptic. But it will be naive to suppose that it operates in a vacuum. The great international judicial decisions tend to move within margins that, without openly betraying the law, do not directly contradict the realities. do not directly contradict the realities of power. It is there that the new relationship between Caracas and Washington introduces a decisive variable. Not necessarily to guarantee a Venezuelan victory, that illusion belongs more to political discourse than to serious analysis, but to alter the terms of the result. A less maximalist sentence, an intermediate formula, a partial recognition. Options that just months ago seemed improbable are now beginning to acquire a certain logic. At this point, it is what...
Yeah, because remember now, her sanctions are lifted. So she's now a viable person for dealings with any of these nations that going to be clamoring right now to be a part of an agreement with an oil-rich nation, one that is open for business with the US and getting an endorsement even so of possibly becoming even closer a 51st state. You understand? And if we look at how this map is looking, if they are to become the 51st state, look at what's going on your screen right at Delta 9 Media. Big up to all the travelers right now that is catching this information. We got some real right thinking conversations. You know, we got to pay attention to these headlines right here. These headlines. You can't let us sweep this under the rug with no kind of bric-a-brac conversation, because this right here got a whole lot of implications. Let me move forward with some more coming in from the former finance minister, the Honorable Mr. Winston Jordan.
Not remembering one of the most costly strategic errors of recent Venezuelan foreign policy. During the government of Hugo Chavez, there was what could be described with indulgence as a strategic demobilization of the conflict. Under the rhetoric of regional integration, Guyana was even invited to jointly explore the resources of the Essequibo, a signal that was predictably interpreted as weakness rather than a gesture of goodwill. In territorial policy, ambiguity rarely strengthens, rather it tends to erode. Today, paradoxically, it is Chavismo itself, or what remains of it after its recent mutation, that could have the opportunity to correct that error. And at the center of that possibility appears an unexpected figure, Delcy Rodriguez, architect of the economic shift that has dismantled, piece by piece, some of the most rigid orthodoxies of the Chavista model. Rodriguez embodies a more pragmatic, less doctrinaire version of power. The discourse continues to be revolutionary. Practice, on the one hand, begins to look dangerously like something else. Private property, selective openness, agreements with international capital, signs of a reconvention that will have been unthinkable just a few years ago. In this context, it is not unreasonable to suggest that the Essequibo could enter the equation of negotiations with the United States, not as an isolated issue, but as part of a broader package where energy, political stability, and legal certainty are intertwined. Chavismo has demonstrated.
Ali, we're going down there. Y'all hear what the former finance minister is highlighting right there? Right? A whole lot of implications for we, you know. One of the headlines that we should make sure we pay careful attention to, because they got implications to even what's going on the ground with the food supply and all of them things, right? Cost of living and everything else. And with all that's going on in Venezuela right now, we got to ask ourselves, with all the advancement that is going on in Venezuela right now, right? Is there a slowing in the amount of persons that is coming over from Venezuela into Guyana? Because last the president had a conversation, this was what was exposed.
I'm so proud. For me, it's an honor to be in front of you. I would like to give a thanks to Guyana to open the doors for all Venezuelan immigrants, that we have now a big dictator criminal corruption in my country. His name is Maduro. So we are almost 100,000 Venezuelans in the beautiful, beautiful Guyana.
100,000.
100,000. I'm the pastor of Spanish Church here in Hostelli. I'm working with them. So I'm so grateful, Mr. Honored President.
We will work with you guys so that we can create better conditions for people live also. All right?
Yeah. Thank you, Guyana. Thank you, President. I God bless you.
With all that's going on, the lifting of the sanctions, the advancement with them being able to do trillions of dollars in trade, are less persons migrating over to Guyana because we could see the implications that could come from that as well. Let's hear some more.
Illustrated with an almost admirable consistency that it is willing to come to an understanding with whomever is necessary in order to preserve power. If that understanding now passes through Washington, it will be naive to assume that they will leave one of the country's most sensitive territorial assets off the table. There remains, however, a greater unknown. If the new order that emerges after January 2026 manages to consolidate, the ICJ's decision will cease to be a purely legal act and will become one more piece within an architecture of power in recomposition.
Power in recomposition, a whole lot of implications for our beautiful country. Things that we got to pay attention to. We can't let us sweep this one under the rug with another party, another dance, nothing. Because if Guyana is to really change in the manner that they would like, there's a lot of things that we definitely will no longer be familiar with as it relates to our country.
Sleepy is the only diaper brand in Guyana with such a wide range to choose from. We cater to all babies, from newborns all the way to stage 7. Our collection includes Sleepy New, Sleepy Sensitive, Sleepy Natural and Organic, Sleepy Night, and don't forget our fashion jeans. Most of all, they're available in both paste and pull-up styles. Sleepy, Guyana's #1 selling baby diaper, available at stores nationwide.
100% wild-crafted sea moss. Only the best, 'cause you deserve nothing less. 8 Butterfly.
So big up to everybody that was a part of this presentation. I'm telling you, I got a couple more presentations or a couple more parts of a lot of different headlines that we got to make sure we update one another with right here on Delta 9 Media. It's a Wisdom Wednesdays. Make sure that you subscribe, you got your notifications on, because we're going to be dropping the videos throughout the day, and we have so many things that we're going to update one another with. Big up to all the frequent travelers. Big up to all of the persons that are traveling with us for the very first time. Make sure that you join the team. Subscribe. It don't cost you nothing, but it will keep you connected with every single thing trending in Guyana and in the diaspora.
One love. Advertise with us, and let's help you promote your next product, project, or event. More than 1 million viewers every month in Guyana and all over the globe. No project too big, no project too small. Delta 9 Media. Let's help your project reach its widest possible audience.